Jane Henry went to. I'm a member of Citizens Climate Lobby, local group here, and we've had public meetings for the last had 3 or 4 now, starting in March or something. We have another one Saturday if anybody wants to come. 11 o'clock at Covenant Presbyterian at 4600 48th Street. So we met with a local solar contractor the other day, and some of the information that we got I don't think was quite accurate. So I already talked to somebody in the lobby. I don't know exactly who it was, Amy. And so she gave me a lot of the information, but I thought I'd just say who I was and what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put together a brochure or a pamphlet for people local, not just local, people who do solar contracting, installing like that. I'm trying to give them accurate information if possible about what the rules are. So one of the things he said was that, I don't think this is true, there's a state law that once you get into ERCOT, that we'll have to have choice as far as consumers concerned, and I don't think that's true. The only article I've read about the situation is that there's 20 or 30% of power that's still coming from Excel or whoever, and that's can't be choice, and then the rest of it is up to the city council once we're into ERCOT. That's right. Yes. So that's one of the main things that needed to know. The rate plans here, she said it was rate plan 5 is $30 base rate per month, and then the rates are actually lower for this service. Of course, people won't be using it very much. The one thing I want to share, I was an electrical engineering major in college, but I haven't done any of that since, and so I've been looking into climate change and utilities and how things work the last year or two, and it's a very complicated subject, as I'm sure everybody knows, but there's these factors involved where who's going to pay for what, and so it's like I understand if people go off grid, or not go off grid, but just do solar, it's like that's less money to the utility company, and so it's hard for utilities to sit there and make up for that by raising rates on other people or however else they can make money. The state doesn't have unlimited funds and everything like that. So I followed the SB 2066 in the House or the Senate, and HB 2860 this year, and it's a solar bill of rights, so trying to levelize fees and then make it so they can't not let people do solar and things like that. And so I was for the bill. I don't think it passed or anything, but I get that it's hard to figure out who's going to pay for what. If everybody goes solar or whatever. And so I just hope going forward we can, at the state level, the federal level, that we can try to cooperate. One more thing one of the people, he's kind of liberal and everything, you might not like him, but David Roberts I read a lot of in Vox, and he writes a lot for the layperson about utilities and things like that. So he wrote a lot about Washington State, that's where he lives, and they passed a bill that kind of reforms utilities a little bit in the sense of giving them extra incentives for conservation and electric vehicles, things like that. So I guess going forward, that's kind of the way I see, that on the state level, and then the federal level, of course, other all lax. Thanks.
We don't have anything on the agenda. We can't comment on this.
Correct. Now, the one thing you could direct staff to put something on a future agenda.
No, I'm just wondering.
Okay.
I was thinking that I had some other thoughts.
No else on them? All right. Mr. McCullough, presentation on your update report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. go through some of the written material and call out some highlights and try to respond to questions that y'all might have. On page 31 of the written material, there's some news we always provide the media coverage over the prior month, and you can see there was some articles there. One of them had to do with the LP&L rates dropping for the summer. So got another agenda item on the open session agenda for later on. On page 34, we continue to promote kiosks and how to use them. Trying to push as many customers into that as we can, and of course, when we get to the Citizens Tower later this year, there is no drive-through facility, so we will be dependent on the kiosk for folks that want to pay outside after hours. We will have some kiosks that will be available, and kiosks inside as well for during normal working hours. But so we're trying to encourage folks to learn how to use those kiosks, and they're very simple to use. So hopefully we can push more people that way. On page 37, I want to call your attention, make some comments on the graph at the bottom of that page, the load graph. Total peak load for June of this year was 535. I looked at last June and it was 614, which is 13% lower on the demand basis this year. And we also had 8 100-degree days last June. This year we've only had 2, so it's quite a difference weather-wise. Very, very, very moderate weather. Total energy off of the invoice that we received from SPS this year was 242 gigawatt hours. Last year was 294. So our total consumption is about 18% lower for June. It's all related to weather. I mean, it's just been a very mild summer so far. So that will show up in retail sales. So when you see there's a little bit of lag time in getting those numbers to you, but when you see the June report, we'll be off a little bit on our retail sales for the month. If you look just slightly above that graph to the generation, we are generating a lot. Our Massengale unit produced 25 gigawatt hours. That's 55% higher than June of last year. And Brandon was 3.86. That's almost double what it was last year. So our generating units are running a lot. That's primarily a function of our gas price that we receive being a lot lower, and it's putting our units in the market a lot more. So we're running quite a bit. It's a good thing we got Massengale repaired because it's been a workhorse for us in June. On page 39, just a couple of comments. The notes at the bottom of the page, we apparently had a lot of employees on FMLA or sick leave during the month, and so our attendance was at 82%. That caused us not to hit our KPIs for the month, but we were close, so we weren't terribly far off. So we were a little off. And then on page 41, you can see the AMI report. We did have a steering committee meeting this month, or just earlier this week, and we're a little bit behind where we thought we were going to be. We're 23.5% of the total electric meters through July 15th compared to where we projected 29%. There's some specific measures that are being taken to get us back on track. Mainly, I don't know if I can say about
bringing additional installers,
right.
So we have more people doing the work in the field.
Probably double the number of installers that we've had. So that will happen very, very quickly. And so hopefully we can get back on track pretty quick on the installs.
David, if we have a request
Yes.
for a new meter, we're putting in an electronic ANI device in, right? Is that correct?
Is that true for new customers?
In majority of the cases, that is true. There are a few specific types of commercial meters that we don't have inventory of yet.
Gotcha.
And so in the cases where we have an AMI meter, we put an AMI meter there.
Okay. But in residential, we're doing that.
Yes, sir.
So what's the total number? 23,000 meters that we got deployed? Water meters? 25,000 water meters installed. That's at the top of page 41. And water meters, where's the water meter number?
Waters are not on the report.
Oh, water's not on this
We're-
report.
We're just around 8,800, 9,000 water
Yeah.
meters.
So it's progressing. On page 43, you can see the customer information system report.
David, my favorite part of your report is the bad dogs. They continue to be the second worst, second top highest reason why we can't complete an install. So, bad dogs, behind locked gates are bad dogs. It is, that's all there. I enjoy that. I'm trending that. I just want you to know.
Well, I mean, the way to deal with that is to set up an appointment and get them to restrain their dogs so you can get them to the door. But that takes contact and working with the customer. So, page 43, the customer information system. I think we're pretty well on track for the go live target date. We've lost almost all of our slack time because of the new software upgrade that was approved at a prior board meeting. But things are looking pretty good there. Any comments on that, Jamie? Edward?
Nope, we're good.
So on the construction report, we had a few additions this month, about 6 new additions in June, and we completed four projects. So it's pretty steady on the commercial front. And at this point, I think I would like to call up Troy Vaughn. I don't know how many of y'all have met Troy. He's with Principal Engineers or Principal Services, the consulting firm that we've hired to help us manage all these projects. And you have seen Jason Avant previously, but Troy is with Principal as well. He's going to give the construction report on the capital improvement.
Dave,
Yes, sir.
I know probably we're down on outages due to weather this year, right?
You know, we're pretty. If you look at June compared to last June, we're pretty comparable. We were slightly lower, but so it was. There was not a lot of weather days in June.
As an aside, did we have any problems last night
Any problems last night? Not that I'm aware of.
on my console?
We may have had a. We'll check your mail.
If you don't have a bad dog, then you probably have
I'll check and let you know.
No, that's all I said.
Troy Vaughn.
I'm just glad the one that worked was my alarm.
Use your smartphone.
What's that?
All right, good afternoon. So we'll start off with the voltage conversion program overview. The numbers haven't changed from a CapEx perspective since the last month that you saw. There's 2 projects we'll hit later on that had a budget amendment in your last board meeting, but the way the numbers roll up, those have not hit this report yet, so we'll get to that in a minute. The only other major change you'd see on this summary program slide versus last month is there was an additional project, Holiday Slayton T-Line, that was added to the overall program report this month, and those dates carry out further into 2020 than the last report that you saw. So that's why, if you look at the overall program, the dates carry out further, but from an overall standpoint, nothing's behind from that perspective. It's just additional projects being added to it. For the McDonald's substation, that project is moving along well. Commissioning is the only remaining work. That has slipped out 1 month, but it's expected to end by the end of this month or early August. Chalker to Oliver, no significant changes on that project. Chalker to Thompson T-Line, no significant changes there. When we get to Slayton Substation, the end dates have slipped out 2 weeks because of delayed construction start on the line tie-ins. The project should be complete by the end of September, and overall that's moving well. Last month, this is one of the projects that did have a budget amendment, and so you'll see a negative in the funds remaining, but that will catch up once the financials show the budget addition next month. Red Raider Station, The project has slipped out, waiting on the T-line cut-ins, but the station is all but ready, and that will kick off soon with the T-line cut-ins, and it's moving along well. Red Raider Tap. This is the second project of 2 that had the budget amendment last month, and so there you'll see a negative amount in the funds remaining, but that will close up after financials catch up. Kinsey Substation, that continues to move forward. That's a 2-step construction project, so it's drawn out pretty far, but that project as a whole is on track, and we're continuing to make progress there. Thompson to Vicksburg. A couple of these projects that we'll talk about, there's 6 that I'll mention specifically. We're going to look at and do a deeper dive as an overall program and look at the forecasted spend. There's several of them that we think have relatively small contingency left for the amount of work that's remaining in the project, and so we want to make sure we do a program level evaluation of the forecasted spend. And we're targeting September to bring to you any significant changes in the overall program on specific projects and how the budgeted forecast might change. The primary driver behind that, we think, is when this program was kicked off, there wasn't a whole lot of data points and recent numbers to report on material costs, construction costs within the city. At this point in the overall program, we're about a third of the way through. We've got a lot more data points that can refine those numbers, and we want to take this time to make sure we refine it. Rather than bringing you a budget amendment every other month, we want to do it one time and make sure we paint the picture well as we look at this. We don't know how many exactly will change. There's 6 that I'm going to highlight today, but not saying all 6 will change. We just want to make sure we look at it properly and thoroughly for you guys.
You're saying you're going to bring all 6 at one time?
If there are 6, we want to.
If there's 10 or 15 or whatever, or 2, we'll bring them all at once.
Yes, sir. Yep. So again, our target is.
Sorry.
Just one thing.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you see any trends? Is it material? Is it, what's causing the cost overrun, or too early to tell?
So there's a couple of factors that we know. Material cost is part of it. Right-of-way cost is another part, and then construction cost is the third. Those are big buckets, but generally
Those 3 areas.
those are the primary drivers. Yes, ma'am. And again, September is the month we're targeting to bring the big review to you. Vicksburg Station is the second project that we're going to look hard at before the September board meeting, but from a schedule perspective, that continues to trend. Oliver Station, same situation, targeting September. Northwest to McKenzie, this is one of the 6 projects, but this one specifically will likely be presenting a budget amendment in August. We expect the construction costs to come in higher than we originally estimated. And due to the timeline of this project, we're going to have to look at it earlier so that we can have the construction RFP approved in order to keep the construction schedule. So this project specifically will likely, if a budget amendment is needed, bring it in August rather than September. Erskine McKenzie fits back into the budget hard look before September. Holly Station, same situation, likely bringing that one to you in September. We're looking at it to bring it to you in September. And so that rounds out the 6 projects that we're going to be looking at from a budget perspective in future months. The rest of the projects are continuing to trend well from what we can tell right now from a schedule and budget perspective. And so I'll move you on to the Encore slide. I forget what page number that is in your book.
$66.
66. Thank you. Right before the financials tab. So we've put together this overall schedule from, I think you saw this last month, of where Encore is sitting in their progress of tying in. They're part of the voltage, the interconnection to ERCOT. The Ogallala to Abernathy transmission line is expected to go get approved at the PUC August 29th. So that's a good date for us to get moving. It's not as early as we were hoping it would be, but it gives us a mark on the wall to start purchasing right away and getting Encore moving in that direction. Abernathy to Wadsworth, they expect to have that CCN approved potentially in August, but maybe in September. That's moving forward as well. Wadsworth to Farmland, we had a good break on that project. They were able to settle that CCN, which we did not expect. And if that settlement continues to move forward, that would potentially give us a CCN approval several months earlier than they originally expected. Abernathy to North, that project is continuing on the usual year-long CCN approval process, but doesn't present any significant changes or risks there. Encore is continuing to purchase the large transformers on behalf of Lubbock, and that's moving forward well. And this last slide is a representation of the voltage conversion schedule. Terrence Ellis and the engineering department put together the plan, and this is a representation of what that plan looks like. So this is late 2020 through early 21. I think a couple of the board members had asked about what the conversion sequence looked like on your transmission system to do voltage conversion, and this is the plan. Obviously, there's a lot of details to work through that are much more finite than this, and that plan will evolve as we get further in the project, but we wanted to show it to you that the team has come up with a plan, and we're working through it to continue to refine it. That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Other questions or comments? All right, yes, sir. Trees have some presentation discussion of status report from Project Helping Hands Committee, and
It's posted in Adam, Mr. Bowler. I'm sure that at y'all's pleasure.
we'll wait till number nine.
I missed it. Sorry. Well, on the telephone, with not a quorum. I misunderstood. I thought it was going to be in the thing that
Ms. Rose is out of me.
It's expenses associated with the EUB meetings.
Stand correct.
We put this on the agenda just because we wanted to bring your attention. There's been some conversations in our board meetings about Project Helping Hands. So we wanted to highlight the fact that Ms. Henry has held a couple of really good meetings as it relates to that committee. We held a meeting on June 11th and June 18th. The main meeting where we had a bunch of folks come in and talk, we had Karen Murphy from Community Development, Joy Looper, who's the director of Neighborhood House, Sabrina Robbins, who's the director of Catholic Family Charities, who runs our Project Helping Hands program, Melinda Harvey, who's the director of South Plains Community Action Agency, and then on staff we had Michelle Cook and Camille Powell. Michelle obviously is Collections Field Services. Camille is our call center manager. But had a really good meeting in which all of these different folks that have worked together over the years but not necessarily gotten in the same room to talk about these programs were able to do so. In doing it, I think there are a couple of things that were really beneficial other than just kind of comparing ideas and programs so we can try to look on how to expand the program. But probably importantly is, for example, like Neighborhood House. We direct a lot of folks to Neighborhood House, and council does as well. They're one of the entities that when we have somebody that needs help over several months, not just a one-time deal like Project Helping Hands, we send them over there. But I'm always a little bit reticent because I don't want to overload them and you know, they run out of funds. And so she was able to tell us, we're perfectly fine. In fact, you know, send us more because we've got bandwidth. And so we were able to take that back and say, all right, for folks that need longer-term help, we're not overloading them, but in fact, we can, you know, work within our program to help our customers when they get into those situations. Also wanted to throw out, because we've talked about, kind of the public education and Project Helping Hands. In the past year, we've done 3 onserts as it relates to Project Helping Hands. The one in December included an application, and that's the one that we really tried to push. Remember that with the onserts, we shared those with other departments. So they have, water has one, stormwater has one. We have a certain amount of slots, but of course, we've got big projects that we have to promote. But, really, we do more on Project Helping Hands than any of our other kind of special projects. But we're going to look to do more in, I guess it's October. We've got a newsroom story that we're going to push out on social media that talks about Project Helping Hands and try to increase awareness of that. But I just wanted to kind of touch on the basic points here and then kick it over to Ms. Henry for anything you'd like to say before.
I just wanted to explain to you all what we've been doing. I went and visited Karen Murphy, and she showed me this photograph. It was absolutely fascinating. I'll send it around to you. It's 2 feet of bills that they paid in 2018. 5,000 customers and over $1 million worth of cash for everything else. And I thought that was something well worth paying attention to. One of the things she told me was that there's a new policy that's come down that they can't pay anything except the electric portion of the bill. And I thought that this was very timely with our new equipment, our new software. We want to be sure that we have the right kind of software that they can pull out the electrical part and easily do, continue to do what they've been doing. So I went to talk to the people at the other agencies that were giving money away and asked them, what we could do to help. And one of the first things they said is the staff that we work with at LP&L has been wonderful. They're accommodating and want to help people. And so I thought it would really be fun to get them in the room together. And I thought too that it was a very successful exchange of ideas and some really good conversation. I also was really interested in what the Levellands people were doing, which is what we've been doing so much of here, about weatherization. Because I think as we move into ERCOT, it will be incumbent upon us to teach people how they can reduce their bills. Since we don't have to pay for anything that we don't use as far as electricity is, the more we can get people now will make a difference if you weatherize your house. You don't have any additional, you can touch your house. So I think that's one thing that we can, there's one thing we as a board can pursue as the education part of it, and perhaps use weatherization of the houses of people who need our help to educate the rest of us of what we can do in a friendly home. And then, of course, I'm just going to poke you about solar, and it's on my list. I didn't say it because you said it. It's right there. But it's. I think that this is a good direction to be going in. And I think it's astonishing that we have that many people that need our help. So whatever we can do to continue this. And then, I have to admit, since my husband likes to check LP&L, I think one of the hard things about getting out the word about Helping Hands and to make the donation is that people don't know about it. If you get your check, if you just do an automatic deposit and goes by, you don't see anything. So not very many people, we're encouraging people for some weird reason. We want to do all this online. And so I don't think we're reaching people as well as maybe we should. I thought what the water board did with the illustrations on the drains to say this water is going all the way to the Gulf and what are we going to do to be responsible is what we need to be doing too. So I like that. Our community involved in how we make this publicity more fun. I don't know, but I think we've got a lot of things we can do. And I never took the responsibility of talking to Jack about, are we adding $10 for our bill every month? And when I realized, yikes, I'm the chairman of that board. I just want to encourage all of our board. We should be able to say 100% of our board is either rounding up or making an extra donation of something. And then we can maybe figure out how to encourage that. So, thank you all for that's what I'm making it last.
Questions, comments?
Referring back to this new rule that they use about only things in the electric part of the bill, I'm curious, how does the city handle the remainder of the bill? Has anybody looked into that?
I think it's.
Since it's all combined into one, yeah, they pay the electric part, but still the bill to the city.
Well, I think that's why they were so concerned about it, because they said the good thing about having it combined in the past is that people don't want their electricity turned off. If you turn off their sewer, I mean,
Well, that was my point. The
Collection.
bill's not paid in any part of it.
There's stormwater, that'd be a great way to avoid paying your stormwater.
yeah, it really would.
Not maybe not.
So, I think that's a problem, but that came from above, so that's not something that, I don't know what kind of city.
I can speak a little bit to that. I mean, currently, our staff is spending a great deal of time making sure, I mean, they're going in and looking at the account and deciphering what are electric charges and what are water charges. And they are manually applying the funds that come in from those agencies to the electric charges. The customers are informed, or that's part of their information from the pledging agency is that they are responsible for the water portion of their bill. So we're still making payment arrangements if we need to, or things like that to help them with those other city services. And for the electric services, then we just go in and manually apply any payments that are received to those electric funds so that we are keeping in compliance with what the agency's restrictions are.
So if they pay the electric portion of the bill, then they're immune from disconnect. On the electric part.
They are immune from disconnect for the electric service. But if their water services are past due and they haven't made other arrangements, such as a payment arrangement or something like that, then they can still be subject to disruption of service. Now, moving forward in the new billing system, this is easier to manage. There's not so much manual work required to facilitate that agency requirement. So we're looking forward to that.
Jen, I think you've done an amazing job with this committee. I was going to ask Matt or if anyone else would kind of feel this question. Are there any legal parameters to having folks round up or opt in to having a round up that would go towards project governance?
Yeah, Mr. Hunter, I'm not sure, are you talking about staff making efforts? What exactly? Maybe I'll answer. As a municipal government, as a government entity, we're prohibited constitutionally from making gifts. In other words, we really can't participate in charity. If you're asking if there can be employees that try to help other folks contribute or that kind of thing, I think that's probably a little okay. Did I get close?
I mean, just sending it out, if we're sending stuff in the mail of saying, hey, if your bill is $99.50 and you want to round up to $100, and this and what it will go to is towards project. And I think, maybe not step on something. I think the message is what's missing. And you kind of alluded to that. A lot of people aren't doing, coming in and paying their bills by hand. A lot of it's done electronically. So whether the message is sent via email or in an envelope, I think that's. There was a bank that did this previously from the savings standpoint. And you don't realize what those 20-30 cents add up to. But I think that same tool could be used to grow this spot.
So that's where the onserts and the inserts come in. That just in this past year, 3 separate months we put an insert both on the front page and then the back page saying, contribute to project helping hand help, a neighbor in need. You can either route up your bill or make, a $5 or $10 donation. So that's what they see on their bill. We used to do inserts quarterly, but now that we have, the new bill form, we can do the inserts, which I think it's more exposure because with the inserts, a lot of times people just toss them, but if it's right there on the bill, it's more visible. And so we do encourage that. Like I said, we put that out about 3 times. The one that we do in December, we do the insert, but we also include an insert in there, which is an application, which again is trying to push them towards just fill this out, send it in, and then you can be part of this program. Most people do the roundup and it's easy. For example, I do it, and it's easy to do. But there are people, like Ms. Henry said, that go in and say, I want to contribute $5 a month, $10 a month.
And $10 is easier because you don't have it.
Yes, and that's like I was saying. One of the things, if you look at just the remainder of this year, each month we have really those inserts taken up either through other departments or we're going to have to do some customer education on moving into the new tower in terms of just the logistics of we're not going to be at this location anymore for City Lubbock Utilities. We're going to be here. So we'll have to do that for a couple of months, but that's why we're doing that standalone newsroom story in October to kind of take its place. And then that's one of the items that we can push out on social media. And, we encourage, other city departments to repost our stuff. But anything that City Lubbock Utilities puts out, they'll repost it as well. And we always do paid promotions so it reaches not just those people that follow us, but everybody in Lubbock. But you do reach a limitation at a certain point in time just doing inserts and inserts. And I think you've seen that in the board book in that, we've kind of rocked along, gone down a little bit, but we kind of rocked along at the same level. And that's what Ms. Henry's looking at. Let's keep doing what we're doing because it's in-house and we can do it with our own resources. But how do we partner with other people? She's talked about getting with, say, a Luca and having something that's a more creative representation of it that they can help us push that out there just to reach people that may not get it today.
And that, just to reiterate, there's a continued push from the call center representatives and from the in-office representatives to promote this program as well.
Camille, the call center manager who was a part of this, she has a program where there's basically a competition to see who can get the most folks, in the natural conversation with customers to round up their list. So we're also doing that because that's an easy touch point. If you have a customer on the line and they feel like they can promote that, we should definitely do that. So she's done a great job at that.
In my simple math, I was figuring out that just the board, $10 a month on our bill, we would have 20, plus 25% of the total that we now get. More than, which is absurd that we get so little. not hitting those places.
You know what the number would be if everyone rounded up their bill? Huge.
We have 107,000 electric
Round up and let them off down.
How many total?
If you have 107,000 customers and everybody rounds up, you average 50 cents. 50,000 a month.
Well, now, of course, we don't get the paper bill anymore. Now, I'm always paying online as much as we could. And then found out, the only way I could pay what it was due instead of paying it when I go in and do it is to do auto pay. So I don't even see it anymore. But Andy, when someone goes in and pays online, not auto pay, is there a place where they check the box or add it in? I don't remember.
Yeah, there is a selection for the roundup or to.
When you're paying it, I mean, you do see it.
Yes.
So we make it known.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but even if you do online pay, you still have a PDF, the bill that's going to contain that insert on it for anybody that's looking at their bill, even if you don't pay per person.
Well, Jane, thank you for you and the other members that have done this. Since I've been on the board, we talked about it. Finally, there's some stuff there, so I appreciate that. What about the qualifying factors for the people that this actually helps? What's the...
That's done by the assistance agencies. They
You don't want to.
qualify.
It's so complicated.
Yeah, they,
It's tough on the kids.
Probably that, 1.25 on some programs, have to come with algorithm.
And they can have every change.
so,
Well, again, thank you for doing this, and I agree with you, and getting everyone involved here. And that, so.
Well, I'm sad that I'm not increasing that, but I just don't want us to lose sight of.
If you got me for $10 a day, what's that going to do? You got $10 more now, all right, Andy, this brings us presentation, discussion of financial, capital statements, financing options, and round that all the way down to expenses associated with EUB services.
Ron is going to present again for us next month. Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're as excited as I am about my financials this month. So, let's start us off with our income statement. You would start to see that we have a slight decrease in our operating revenue as we continue to go through the seasons. I expect it to go higher, but as David mentioned, it's seasonal, and that is largely also caused due to our PPRF rates that we set back in October. We anticipated it to be lower, but since it came in a little bit higher. But on the good news, our base rate has gone up about 3.3 million, but since PPRF is 15.2 down, we have a net effect of 12.2 right there. On the other hand, our expenses are doing just as well. Look at that decrease of 13 million in total. That is largely attributed to our other changes, which is other supply and maintenance actually, which is 1.8 million right now. We saw a good 2 million decrease in our engineering, legal, admin, and other costs. That is also pertaining to us outsourcing our mailing facilities to Kubra. Now that decrease of 2 million was offset by about $200,000 increase in our maintenance and supplies on the other categories. Now, we also see that we have 10.1 million so far in our purchase and fuel power cost decrease. Now, natural gas prices, as we continue to hear that story, we're just getting lucky and just reaping the benefit of that, which brings us down to the total of $13 million decrease this year, which is a good thing. Our transfers are also down this year. Prior year was our catch-up year for the contribution for the Citizenship Tower. Now this year, since we don't have those transfers are down. Our non-operating expenses are also lower compared to prior year. That is because we did good on our interest incomes on bonds. So income statement's looking pretty healthy. Going on to our balance sheet, we are back to normal with our cash and investment. I'm pretty excited about it. Last month we made a payment and it was looking very wobbly, but we're back to normal. There is no substantial changes. Our revenue continues to trend a little bit lower than what we would expect compared to last year, but it's also because the days are just not getting hotter just yet. But there's no reason to concern because our accounts receivable returns are 37 days compared to 48 days in return. So we're collecting as we should be collecting, but it's just a little bit lower in our receivable side. Now, our restricted investment also keeps coming down. We have a $31 million decrease. That's also because we're utilizing all that funds to build our new facilities. So most of that funds are going right here into our capital assets as we continue to build new things. If you would notice in our fixed asset category of balance sheet in capital assets project, we have a $5 million increase compared to where we were in last month. So we continue to spend money. On our liability sides, our accounts payable and due to line item is down about 6.8 million. That is largely due to $4.9 million of expenses that are not here as they were at year end, and about 1.8 million lower WTMPA invoices due to fuel costs. Now our deferred revenues are up by 13.3 million. Again, that is because there's PPRF and price related. Compared to last month, as Andy presented, we do have some additional over collection. Our customer deposits continues to rise up. That is due to us mirroring our residential policies for customer deposit to our commercial customer policies, which is now at the lower of 135 or the 2 months average bill. So we would see a little bit of change going up in there. Now, other categories are also down by 4.5 million. That relates to us unwinding some of the year-end accruals that we had in the payroll and the interest, and us making a payment on the TTU for 1.8 million. So we're doing good there. And in April, we paid a payments on our bonds and interest receivable, which was at 1.4 million, helping us bring down our accrual by 4.5 in total. Bonds payable payment, we had made a payment in April, as you would remember. We don't see any substantial payments being made until the end of this year. It would be pretty consistent number. There shouldn't be any big changes in there. To keep things exciting, we've included cash flow statement this month. And if you would notice, our cash from the operating activity is positive. We are at 1.4 million in a positive cash flow from everything that we are doing as a core business. Our financing activity is down by 8 million, which is a good indication of our health and our ability to make payments on our debts that is outstanding. So we continue to look good. We must have made some great decisions. Look at that 11 point. We have positive of 11.9 million in our investing activities. So overall, that brings us back to 87. So that's just an overall wrap up of what we did in our cash flow. And our budget comparison, as we track every month, we are starting to look pretty good. We're only about 1.8% away from where we were in the actual of last year in our consumer meters. But all our other revenues are trending up very, very high at 84% than we expected. That is because of our city actually growing. We have outside work orders that have increased in 300,000. We also have power marketing revenues that have gone up about 446,000 and interest that we have earned. So that category is looking pretty healthy, which averages us out pretty well. On the expense side of everything in the budget, we've just seemed to be tracking along pretty well. You would see a large decrease in admin and transmission cost, which is nothing to complain about. We're just going to continue to tread a little bit lower because we have less admin and engineering and legal cost, but even if it goes up, we should be pretty okay. Now, one category that we are pretty higher than our 68% that we would like to see is the fund level expenses. And that is largely due to the bond and the interest on it that we made in the prior month. But as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any other payments scheduled, so we should be pretty much at the same place throughout the remaining of the year. And it is pretty consistent with where we were at last year and the prior year. So, budget's looking good. In our capital project, Troy has done a fantastic job breaking down everything, so I'll just give you the overall look of, as I mentioned, we do have a good amount of funding remaining, and here we have a total of 6.8 million spent, which would be the exact thing that you'll be able to see in our cash flow statement. So we did spend some money, constructed some new things, and I know the detail of every project should be listed out in your CIP project. But if you have any other questions on that, please let me know. And that concludes our monthly financials. Any questions?
Yeah, but there's going to be one. None, right?
All right, none.
Presentation.
Well, Ranu's the only one that can make financials exciting, so I appreciate her and all the hard work she does. The next, I'm sorry. Are you ready for item number 10?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that.
Actually,
Mr. Bell.
I am so sorry. Yes, I'll sit down.
who is speaking to the expenses associated with EUB meetings?
I think, Olivia, did you have some costs related? I think your question had been on the costs related to the books versus perhaps getting pads, iPads.
I'll talk about it if you want to.
It's your call.
We talked about it before at the time, since I guess the last couple of years. Bunch of off. Anyway, I think the cost, you know what the cost is. We can buy a simple iPad of yours for about $550 a piece. Simple little pads. They come in here.
book being here, had to be there, you just use it while you're here. And then we would still send out the electronic version, so you'll have it on your home, whatever your electronic device is. But it costs us this month, with the number of pages, I think you told me it was about $30 a book. And you print how many on the average?
That was last month, $30, and it's $20 this month.
Okay. How many copies? How many do we get each month?
We did 38 copies.
Do the
So
math,
it's
so
$730 this month, and it was $1,050 last month.
So
It
a
would
few
cost-
months, we break even, we quit killing trees. Another organization I'm involved with, I put it in place about two and a half years ago. We had 2 board members, kind of old school, and iPad, and they asked, well, give us the hard copy. After 2 months, they said, no, I'm fine. So most of us bring our own little iPad or whatever we got, and the ones that don't, we furnish it. And it just saves a whole lot of time and money than, burning up all the costs and papers and that sort of thing.
I agree with Mr. Bill's comments there. We spend a lot of time, sometimes the packets, they're good, other ones and everything else, but how you go about it legally, with that information there and those type of things. I defer to Richard on that, how the system works when we get these packets together and everything, but as far as killing trees, doing everything else and going green, I don't disagree with anything you have to say about that.
I will tell you, Richard, the legal issues, there aren't any legal issues unless something's changed that I know of because we vetted that. And unlike, say, the city council, the city furnishes you guys with a lot more high power because they're issued to you.
No, I bought mine.
Well, the ones the city furnishes are what, $1,500, Olivia?
$14.92.
Yeah, the ones the city furnishes to council members, you don't need these because it's just a read. It's all it is there. You can move your fingers and make the letters be you want to. Instead of thumbing through this book, you just use the device in front of you. The only way I think, Richard, and correct me, if we started issuing them, then there'd be some processes in place and how you could use them and what you can use. We're not talking about anybody taking anything home. We just replace the book and we sit there when you come in the morning.
My
question would be, we still get the PDF email to us.
Right.
Mr. Bell, I really don't see any legal issues. I think it's detention policies and laws, government documents. Regardless of what we do, I'll still get a book. There'll still be books for all of that. That's not going to be an issue. There's some practical things to worry about on those. Sometimes it's easy to, if you've got a computer open and it has the capacity to do it. I don't know if the reader of what you're talking about does, but you need to be careful about not conversing through electronic means with your brethren during the meeting.
There won't be any capability to do that. There won't be an email account, nothing. It'll just be electronic. It's just a screen. Just a screen with all the same information and the same, look just like it when you get it at home. For the way it'll be any good.
And I'm sorry. One of the things that we're already doing, when we're already providing in the PDF that you get, there's already buttons that'll take you to certain items or will take you back to the agenda. We have Olivia and Mary Lou have done a good job of getting it set up to where it's usable on that pad of any choosing, basically. And so the technology's there, it's ready to go. So other than maybe a little training, because you have to know where to click and move around, we can certainly help those that need assistance on that. But I think basically we're doing it anyway. A PDF is created every time we send it to the print shop, so it's the same document that can be used from a pad. So there's nothing really additional from our standpoint that has to be done to go this route. I think the decision, at this point is who of you will have your own unit that you'll want to use and how many would need one provided to them at the meeting, so that way you can know how many to have on hand and available for yourself. So I think that's probably the next step.
On the PDF, on the left hand, if you set it up, there's a button there that gives you, like the agenda over there and all the items. You can click and go directly. You don't have to thumb through the book. You just click on the item we're at and go there.
Well, right now, the agenda on the item itself, if you click on the agenda item itself, it'll take you to the backup. That's the way it is. And then there's a button on that page that says back to the agenda. You click it and it'll take you all the way back to the
Move around all you
it's just getting used to clicking and knowing where to click and just getting used to not fumbling around, with papers. So it takes a little bit getting used to
If
that.
show of hands besides Don, it would be okay. Yeah. Tell him we'll lie to you. Yeah, you can.
Council's about 90%. And I don't get them.
Jerry's point, how many people would you want to provide about it,
So we just had that reader, instead of this book, we just had a reader right here.
Unless you want to bring your own. Some of us, what, Richard's our last meeting was September or October? September.
As far as board reports,
4 of us going
I
up.
think, I'll have to check, I was thinking November, but I'll have to check.
October, November, was our last meeting.
Out of my realm, but it's, you don't have replacements, you're still here, correct?
That's correct.
I'm trying to not get him to replace Greg so he can hang around for maybe 2 years. That's so much fun. You serve till replaced.
I heard that replacement this year, left and right.
And that's like the council meeting is when you're sworn in. You're not actually members until you're sworn in, right? Correct. Right, Richard? Correct. So, if somebody used to, replacing Greg, they're used to be sworn in.
Back to that, guys.
What if you try to get rid of somebody?
Andy and Lou,
Rest
you
of us
guys
get together on that.
send out some emails and.
Yeah, we'll get a poll out. See
Yeah, get a
who
poll
wants
out.
one to do that.
How cumbersome?
Oh, yeah.
How would you vote on all? If you had 10 of them, how do you vote each one of them?
Mr. Chairman, let me suggest that we just go ahead and order iPads for everybody unless somebody does not want one or does not need one and wants to continue to get the hard copy, then let them know that you want.
Or do you have your own iPad?
If you have your own, if you don't want one or don't need one, but let Olivia know and then we'll order enough to cover the rest of it.
Yeah, what we don't know is the 4 of us going off, whether
We just keep them here.
Do I get a new iPad or not?
I'd rather just use your own.
Trust will probably just get
Yeah.
order 10 comfortable need for us. Down here. And, next month, they have it total of this vote, so people can be used to doing it and have a hard copy, and then the next one following, we will
Hey,
go over.
Don's going to bring his desktop PC.
Is that an Apple TV? Yeah. It's got a floppy drive.
Any other items under number 9? All right, that brings up item 10, consider resolution providing for adjustment of the purchase power cost recovery, PPRF, portion of election rate tariff. The PPRF providing for recovery by LP&L of all purchase power costs incurred by LP&L and serving system demand and energy requirements as more particularly defined in LP&L's election rate tariff schedule as adopted by the City Council, City of Lubbock, on September 13th, 2018.
All right. Well, I have a little bit of good news to report today. We are recommending a rate reduction for the pass-through, the power cost recovery factor portion of the bill beginning on August 1st, just for your consideration today. Just very briefly, what is the power cost recovery factor? It is a rate that we've designed to recover all of our costs for purchasing power and for generating the power on our own. So the revenues that we collect, our goal is to always match that to the actual expenses that we incur to purchase that power or to generate it. We typically adjust those rates on a seasonal basis, once on June 1st and once on October 1st. We just recently implemented a lower rate. It was our 4th reduction of the pass-through rate in a row over the last 18 months. We did that on June 1st. So we do that seasonally, but if we have a mid-season adjustment, we can do that, but that takes approval of the board to implement that rate reduction. Rate Stabilization is all part of this. We absorb all of the volatility and the cost of power because that is very volatile on a month-to-month basis. And so rather than passing that volatility on to the customer, that's why we set these seasonal rates so customers can understand and can kind of forecast, if they know what their consumption is, what their costs will be over each season. So that was another benefit of the power cost recovery factor. There have been significant changes to our power portfolio since June 1st. As you know, we were under the full requirements contract with Southwestern Public Service up until the end of May, and beginning in June, we are now under a variety of contracts, all in place to save our customers money, and so that's beneficial. This chart shows you for a rate 1 residential customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours a month, if they use the same level every month. You can see over the last 18 months we've had 4 reductions. So, and this is actually representative of the total bill, not just that power cost recovery factor portion of the bill, but the total bill. So started at 119 on average back in late 2017, and as of June 1st, the average for the month for each month in the summer was about 103. The rest of the charts are all going to be showing the rate 1 residential customer and what they are paying, because that represents the largest rate class that we have. Even though our proposed reduction impacts all rate classes, it's just simpler just to focus on the largest class that we have. So if you look back to our May meeting, we presented to the board that we were going to reduce the rates for the pass-through effective June the 1st. The reason for that reduction has 2 main things. First of all is the low natural gas prices that are reflected in what are called locational module prices where we purchase energy in the Southwest Power Pool integrated marketplace. So those are down substantially from where we've seen historically, and we believe that is not going to be the case for the long term, but it certainly has been the case over the last number of months, and we expect it to continue at least probably at least another 6 months. That will be ultra low natural gas prices. We also, with one of those contracts that began in June, we have substantially lower capacity costs that we pay to SPS going forward with that new contract, and so those together allowed us to reduce the rate on June 1st to where we are today. At that time, we had also anticipated, when we made that recommendation for the June 1st rate reduction, we had anticipated that we were going to have a true-up charge from Southwestern Public Service for about $2.5 million. They, on a once-a-year basis, they will true up the last 12 months of costs for both demand cost and energy costs. So the $2.5 million was representative of what we've seen on average over the last 4 years of that charge. On June the 19th, we had a customer meeting with Southwestern Public Service where they announced that instead of a charge, we're actually going to be getting a credit to the tune of about $4.5 million. So that's a substantial, not surprise that we received, and so we want to be able to pass those savings as well onto our customers. If we do not change the rate, we would actually over-recover in the summer months, meaning we would collect revenues in excess of our power cost to the tune of $10 million. And we certainly do not want to do that. We want to credit that back to our customers over the summer. So our recommendation today is to reduce the rate where the rate 1 residential customer would actually see, instead of $103 a month for the month of August and the month of September, on average they pay the $92.07 for those 2 months. So we're recommending that change. That would rebate or return that true-up credit that we're receiving. It will also return some of the over-collection that we've had to date, where we may have over-recovered from our customers the actual cost that we incurred. In addition to that, an ability, like I mentioned a moment ago, where we like to stabilize the rates, we like to minimize as much volatility as we can for our customers, we will still have somewhat of an over-recovery through the end of the summer season. We will then, in turn, rebate that back to the customers additionally in the winter months. But that keeps those rates from being so volatile for our customers, and so we're trying to manage it that way. To give you a sample bill I've pulled out what the electric customer would look at. This is looking back to the winter months, October of 18 through May of 19, before we lowered our rates most recently. The average customer, and I've been talking on average of 1,000 kilowatt hours. That's just an industry standard to use because the math is easy. But our rate 1 customers during those winter months actually on average use about 717 kilowatt hours on a monthly basis. And so if you do the math with the rates that were in place at that time, their average bill was $87.45, including tax and fees and everything. For the last 2 months, for this month and last month, you see, first of all, that consumption almost doubles on average for a rate 1 residential customer, about 1,324 kilowatt hours. So that's why typically we have a lot of reaction from customers when summer hits, and they may not be expecting that their air conditioners are generating as much as they are, but that's really one of the main drivers for that big jump in consumption. So if you take the rates that are in place currently, you see that drop from 6.939 cents on the pass-through charge to where we are currently at 6.177 cents. That gave you a total bill of $143 for that customer. Yes, it is more than October, but you've doubled your consumptions, so you're still paying substantially less than you would if we hadn't made that rate reduction. The proposed rate, you see we're going from 6.177 cents to a proposed just a little over 5 cents per kilowatt hour. You can see these are comparable months because of the consumption pattern is the same between the 2 months. So you can see that average customer would drop from $143 to $127. So that would be the impact that our customers would see if this rate goes into effect. You make a comparison to last summer. Over the 4 months, June, July, August, and September, the average rate 1 customer paid $153. This summer, that same customer will pay $135, so almost an $18 reduction per month. So it's about a 12% overall reduction from what customers paid this time last year. So that completes my presentation. So I'll turn over to you if you have any questions at this point.
All right, I will entertain a motion to bring up item 10 for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve a mid-season adjustment to purchase power cost recovery factor as previously stated.
Second. Any discussion? Your second. Sorry, I think I had this question. Conrad.
So, what will that do for the coming winter months? I guess let me rephrase my question. What type of effect will that have on the winter months?
Keep in mind that this reduction is really just going to be for 2 months. I'll go back to the 9207. It'll go back to closer to more normal rates. At the current time, we're anticipating a slight increase over the current, but if you compare what we're projecting right now next winter to last winter, it'll still be around $1.50 to $2 less per month for that average rate 1 customer. So even though the rates will go back up, that consumption will come down, but those rates will still be lower than what we saw last winter. So
the reason why I asked that question is why wouldn't you spread it over a long period of time? But if you anticipate that,
if we spread it over a longer period of time, that depresses those rates throughout the winter season, and then you really see a very large jump, larger than we'd like to see going from winter to summer. And so that's why I've talked about this rate stabilization, where we like those changes from season to season to not be as dramatic as they already are because of the jump in consumption.
In 2017, that we lowered it 18%, like in February 2017. That's probably right. Yeah. So February 2017, we lowered it 18%, and we held it through October. And when we got to October, even though we did a lot of publicity, and when we got to October, we had a lot of customers in public forums and calling the call center saying, "Why did you just raise my rate 18%?" Because that became the equilibrium from all summer, and it escapes them that was a lowered rate. So it works better just from public education to do it in shorter periods, so you communicate that we're here, we're going to lower it to give this back, and then we'll be back to normal in a quick fashion. From my perspective.
And Matt's going to be putting out a press release to explain this more fully. He'll be doing interviews and that sort of thing to get the word out and to explain it. And we'll make sure that we're. But I also want to keep in mind and state again that our natural gas prices are ultra low. They're out of the norm. We will be getting back to the norm as more pipeline capacity is built in West Texas, shipping that natural gas out. Naturally will create a rise in those natural gas prices. This is something we really need to enjoy now, especially in the summer months. It's exceptional to have low costs like this right now and to be able to do that. But those costs we're anticipating will rise back up to where they've been historically, and so we will see a reversal of this as time goes on, and we'll see those pass-through costs going back up as natural gas creeps back up as well.
I just sent my $10. No, they didn't say, would you like to contribute?
Excellent idea. Matt, get on that.
I'll put this.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that is approved. I want to thank you all on that. That's what, the fifth, sixth, fourth time that we've ordered?
This is the fifth.
Fifth in 2 years, so good job, brother team. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. Items 11 through 16. I think everyone had a chance. Is